Hey, welcome to this new class. In this opportunity, we're going to learn about feelings and emotions. Posting your feelings and emotions. Now, how do you deal with your emotions? How do you develop this activity? Now, that is our main topic for today's class. Now, first of all, let's relax a little bit before start. Okay? Now, in here, we have a row of emotions. Okay, we have pictures in here that reflects emotions. And in the other row, we have the emotions, the greeting emotions. And what we have to do is to match these pictures with the correct words, the correct word that would describe better the emotion in the picture. Okay, now let's think for a little bit and then we're going to check it together, okay? Now think. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Okay, now let's check. What do you think about the first one? What does it mean? I would say that it means doubtful. So we can see there is a question mark in there. So it means that we have some questions, some doubts. So when we are hesitating about something, when we are not 100% sure about something, we are doubtful. Okay, now what about the next one? It means upset. You are sad, you're not feeling well, you are upset about something. What about the next one? It is hopeless. As we can observe, it is a picture of a man that it seems that he has given up. So you don't think that a situation has a solution, so you are going to feel hopeless. Okay? What about the last one? Yep, the last one would be embarrassed. Embarrassed. This means that, for example, when someone tells you a lot of compliments, they tell you a lot of nice things to you. So you feel kind of embarrassed because, you know, when your face starts to go red, you feel embarrassed. Okay? Now, what is our main vocabulary? Embarrassed, upset, and hopeless. And the last one we have doubtful. Okay? Now, let's go to the next activity. As I have mentioned before, in today's class we're going to learn about posting our feelings and emotions. In here we're going to learn how we should deal with these situations, how we can express our emotions or feelings in English. Okay, because we have some vocabulary and some specific ways, maybe some suggestions that we can agree on when we are feeling in a specific way, okay? For example, we have in here so many emotions. We have happy, sad, upset, confused. That is a synonym for doubtful. So, well, we're going to learn about all of this, okay? Now, first of all, we're going to learn about grammar. How do we use gerunds and infinitives? Well, in here, we have two main forms of verbs. We have gerunds and we have infinitives. First of all, a gerund. A gerund is a verb with ing, that the ending part is in ing, okay? And an infinitive is when you are going to write the preposition to and the base form of the verb, okay? As it shows in here. Okay, now let's review all these options, okay? Now what about the first one? Let's start from here. Okay. Now, you consider studying harder to get better grades. The verb consider is followed by, what could you say? As I have explained, a gerund is ending in ing. So, it could be a gerund, okay? You can take notes of all of this so that you don't get confused. Now, in here, hopeless. Hopeless at. Prepositions would be followed by what? What do you think? Prepositions, I think it could be, well, I think it could be followed by a gerund. As I said before, an infinitive is constructed by already in here a preposition, the preposition to, and the base form of the verb. So, prepositions are followed by a gerund. Now, prefer. The verb prefer, what would you say is followed by a gerund or an infinitive? What do you think? Well, there are some also verbs that can admit both, as prefer is one of them, okay? With prefer, we can use either a gerund or either an infinitive, okay? Now, in the last one, shocking news makes you. What would you say? Would you use a gerund or an infinitive in here? Well, as you can see, in this part, it is clear that we are not going to use a gerund. We're going to use an infinitive. But the question is, we have to use an infinitive with the preposition to or without that preposition. Okay? So, in this part, we're going to use with verbs make, let, and help are followed by the object. And what do you think? It is without, okay? So we're going to use only the base form of the verb. So it could be letter B. Now, having that clear, let's move on. Now, gerunds and infinitives. First of all, what are gerunds and infinitives? Okay. Now, in here, a gerund is a verb plus the ending ing. It is a noun made from a verb by adding ing, as I have mentioned. The gerund form of the verb read is reading. For example, you can use a gerund as the subject or the object of a sentence. Reading helps you learn English. Or I enjoyed reading. In this case, we're going to always analyze the gerund as a verb. Okay? Now, the doctor advised him to avoid eating junk food. Okay, avoid is a verb that only admits gerunds. So in here, it is also, what could you describe this one? Now let's analyze the next example. Tom gave up smoking 15 years ago. Gave up. It is another verb that could admit only gerunds. Now let's analyze the infinitives. In here, we can observe the preposition to plus the verb, the base form of the verb. And there are two forms of the infinitive, bare, without to, and full infinitive, with the preposition to, as we could have observed in the previous slide. The infinitive form of learn is to learn. You can also use an infinitive as the subject or the object of a sentence. To learn is important, is the subject. Okay, now, in here he wants to learn, in here is the object. Okay, and want would admit only infinitives. Okay, now let's move on. In here I have a list of verbs that admit gerunds and infinitives or both. So in here we can observe we have a pretty long list of verbs that would admit the gerunds, for example. Now, in the part of infinitives, you can also recognize the verbs that only admit infinitive, and we have also a list of verbs, a part that would admit both gerund or infinitive. So in this part, I would advise you to study that list, because you have to remember the verbs that would admit either a gerund or an infinitive. And also you have to remember that we have the case that there are some verbs that would admit both of them. Now, as it happens with the regular verbs, we have to bear in mind the verbs that admit either a gerund or an infinitive. So we have to memorize them or either practice them. If you practice, for example, in a reading way, or you can also try to practice by talking, by speaking, so that you can get used to the usage, the correct usage of gerunds or infinitives. Okay? Also, we have in here the object plus an infinitive, as we could observe in the previous slide. Now, we have in here a test that you have to complete. In this part, you're going to use your notebook and you are going to write your answers. It is a personal test, so you only have to tick the ones that you agree on, okay? The ones that you feel identified that you can use, okay? Now, the test is called How Do You Deal With Your Emotions? So as you can see, it is only about you. You don't really need the opinion of someone else's opinion. So let's analyze with me each option, okay? When you have bad grades at school, you consider, for example, ignoring the issue, studying harder to get better grades, or complaining to your teachers, okay? When you have a problem, you prefer to deal with it by yourself without telling anybody, looking for your best friend to get some advice, or to tell everyone so you feel people care about you. As you can see, here are provided about 3 options, so you can tick the ones that you agree on. And in here also, after you have developed this quiz, we can analyze about the usage of each verbs. Okay, now take your time and write your own answers. Now, tick tock, just analyze it. Now, in here, in this last part of this image, you can check your own answers so that you can discover your results. But for now on, we're going to analyze the structure of each one of the questions, okay? For example, with the verb consider, we can see that all the options given are gerunds. So we can infer that consider is a verb that only admits gerunds. With the second one, prefer. Prefer is a verb that admits both of them. So we have infinitives and we have gerund in here. Tend to. As you can see in here, we have a preposition. So we can either use the base form of the verb, which means that we're going to use an infinitive without preposition to. And in here, for example, it makes you. In here, we're going to use also the base form of the verb. So it would be the infinitive without the preposition to. And in the next one, we have when your friends have a problem, you let them talk and release your pain, explain, or get. Let's pay special attention to the first verbs in here, okay? As we can observe, they all are in the base form. So that is because we have in here the verb and an object, okay? Now, what about the last one? When your best friend is embarrassed, what you should do? Try not to help, or do your best to help, or you can help. Okay. Remember that these verbs belongs to which ones you can use an object and then the infinitive form without the preposition to. Okay. Now let's move on. Now in here I have written some more examples so that you can observe. In the first one we have the verb dislike. I dislike watching movies at night. In here we can see dislike is as a gerund. I expect to have the results of the operation soon. In here we have an infinitive, to have. Wait, we could not wait to hear the outcome. Here we have the infinitive. And in the last one we have enjoy. She enjoys reading in her bedroom. Okay? Gerund. So in here remembers we have to always bear in mind which verbs admits either a gerund or an infinitive. So as you can see, you can follow the same structure to make your own examples. But first of all, let's develop this activity. We have in here the instructions classify the verbs in the word bank. In here is the word bank into the appropriate categories. You can either copy this chart so that you can classify each one of them, and then we're going to check with me the correct answers. Okay, we have in here a group of verbs that have been provided. We have to take each one of those verbs and classify in here in these charts. We have in the first category verbs followed by gerunds. We have also verbs followed by infinitives, and also we have the third kind that is verbs followed by gerunds or infinitives. Okay, now take your time and then we're going to check with me. Okay, now ding ding ding. Now let's check. We have in the first group verbs followed by gerunds, which is avoid, enjoy, and keep. What about the second row? In here follow verbs followed by infinitives. We have hope, decide, seem, and in the last one, in the last category, we have continue, start, and intend. Remember that this one is for verbs that are followed by gerunds or infinitives. Okay, now let's move on. In here we have read the news posted in this personal blog, fill in the gaps with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses, then listen and check. We're going to recognize if we're going to use a gerund, an infinitive, or an infinitive without the preposition to. Okay, we have learned about these three kinds of verbs. So first of all, you're going to write with the form of the verb in parentheses that you think is correct, and then we're going to check listening to the audio. Okay, now take your time. Okay, then now I hope you have everything ready. Now we're going to listen to the audio. Okay, pay special attention to the parts when the verbs are mentioned. Okay.
Lesson 2. Posting your feelings and emotions. Page 39. Exercise 3. Read the news posted in this personal blog. Fill in the gaps with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. Then, listen and check. Paris Hilton and her productive career.
People may be tired of hearing news about Paris Hilton, but her professional success seems to be improving. She has never avoided talking about her many products, and she has even admitted working hard on each project. I decided to get involved in my various businesses and products, and I'll continue to do so. She also claims that her many stores, perfumes, and product lines have helped her earn over $1 billion in revenue for the last 8 years. She has plans to keep growing. I intend to open a new beach club chain in the USA, and I'll also start producing a new album, which I hope to have ready next year.
Okay then. Now you have to check with your answers. You have to. Now, do you think it was enough to listen to the audio just one time? Now, if you feel that it was enough, then good for you, but maybe some of you need another time to listen to the audio, so let's play it once again, okay? Pay special attention.
Lesson 2. Posting your feelings and emotions. Page 39. Exercise 3. Read the news posted in this personal blog. Fill in the gaps with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. Then, listen and check. Paris Hilton and her productive career.
People may be tired of hearing news about Paris Hilton, but her professional success seems to be improving. She has never avoided talking about her many products, and she has even admitted working hard on each project. I decided to get involved in my various businesses and products, and I'll continue to do so. She also claims that her many stores, perfumes, and product lines have helped her earn over $1 billion in revenue for the last 8 years. She has plans to keep growing. I intend to open a new beach club chain in the USA, and I'll also start producing a new album, which I hope to have ready next year.
Okay. Now, I hope that was enough. Now, let's check the correct answers. In the first one, we have talking. She has never avoided talking about her many products. As we could have learned in previous slides, avoid is a verb that only admits gerunds, okay? Now, the next one. To get. I decided to get involved in my various businesses. Okay. The next one. I'll continue to do so. In the next one, we have earn. Have helped earn over 1 billion. Okay. Now, the next one, we have growing. A gerund. Remember to check your own answers. In the next one, we have intend to open. In the next one, we have start producing, a gerund. And in the last one, we have I hope to have. Okay. Remember that hope is a verb that only admits infinitives. Now, let's move on. Now, in this part, we have in here that you can add your new command if you want. That is completely optional. But let's move on. Now, in this part, how do people react? You have to read the blogger's entries and write the way they feel. You can use also this word bank. Okay, so now in your notebook, you're going to write the names of the bloggers, and I am going to go back to the previous slide so that you can have the opportunity to read again, and then you're going to write about their emotions or feelings, okay? Now let's see. Here we have DJP. Here we have Mike Smith, and here we have Kelly Jolavi. Okay. Now that you have taken your time, you remember that you have to analyze each one of the entries and infer what emotion is Mike transmitting. That is what you have to write. Now let's check. Mike Smith. It seems doubtful. It can be also what? Excited or hopeless? What do you think? Well, according to my opinion, I would say that Mike Smith would have felt also hopeless because he seemed like he doesn't believe what Paris Hilton said. Also, Coolidge and Lobby, I think she feels excited. I mean, she's really excited about the new album. And also, she also feels interested. What about DJ JP? I think he feels annoyed and also disappointed because it seems that he's not a big fan of Paris Hilton, so he doesn't like her music, and he definitely doesn't want a new album of her. No. In this part, you're going to practice and you're going to write your own examples. You have to write 4 sentences on your notebook, and you have to write 2 of these sentences using an infinitives and 2 of those sentences using gerunds. Okay? Now take your time and remember the list. Okay? Now let's make a brief review of what have we learned in this class. We have to always bear in mind which verbs admit gerunds and which ones admit infinitives, okay? So it is a list that we have to always remember because we have to memorize them. But if you don't want to memorize them, you can also practice, as I mentioned. You can practice speaking by speaking, or you can practice writing them, okay? We have also learned the new vocabulary. This new vocabulary, which is embarrassed, which is kind of ashamed, when someone tells you a lot of big things. We have also upset, which is kind of sad, when you're disappointed. We have also hopeless, when you think there is no solution for a problem, you feel lost, you will feel hopeless. And we have also learned about doubtful, when you are very confused, when you have a lot of questions about the topic, or maybe when you are hesitating about doing something, you're going to feel doubtful. Okay? Now this is your homework. In this part, you have to write a paragraph of minimum 300 words, where you have to highlight with 2 different colors the parts where you use infinitives and where you use gerunds, okay? The topics for this paragraph could be importance of a healthy environment or importance of expressing your feelings, okay? I hope you have enjoyed this class and good luck with your homework. Thank you for attending.